I knew I wanted to renovate a house. So I was competing against all the flippers who were going in there, and the banks back then, they literally just took the first offer. And so you
Okay.
had to be fast. You had to go on scene. It was my first property. I was pretty scared.
You're listening to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show, a podcast that discusses the intricacies of real estate investing with your host, Marcus E. Maloney. Marcus is a real estate investor best known for being the equity king. He's been awarded that moniker because he and his team find amazing real estate deals. He will be talking with investors who have done some transformational things in the real estate industry. They'll discuss their process, their strategies, and how their investments transform their lives and the communities they invest in. We welcome you to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show.
Hello, guys. It's Marcus Maloney with this week's We Love Equity Real Estate podcast show. We have Kenny Dahill from right here in sunny Southwest Phoenix, Arizona. He is a buy and hold investor that buys specifically in Tempe, Arizona. He has 6 units, 6 doors, and he is investing strategically for passive income. Again, he's been investing in Tempe, Arizona, and he got started in May of 2010. So just over 9 years ago, he got started investing. He's a former institutional developer, and he uses his passive income to allow him to work on his startup and be an entrepreneur who's launching a product that is called Burbz. So Kenny, welcome to the show. Welcome to the listeners.
Marcus, thanks for having me on today.
Hey, man, it is my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Hey, guys, just so everyone know, we have a background. Me and Kenny met at a BP weekend meetup and just kind of talking. We kind of hit it off. And I said, hey, this guy will have some knowledge and he can really share it with our listeners. So, Kenny, before we get started, man, give me a little bit more background about you. I know I probably didn't do you any justice, but share with the listeners who you are, what you're doing, and things of that nature.
Yeah, will do. Well, you gave a better introduction than I can typically do for myself, so thanks for that. So I'm born and raised in Tempe, Arizona. That's why I love it. And I went down to University of Arizona, go Wildcats.
All right.
And back in the day, I wanted to go to school, get into real estate, get into commercial real estate. And I graduated in basically the best era ever for real estate. It was May of 2008. So I realized, yeah, perfect timing for dreams to come true.
Yep.
So I realized at that point in time that getting into commercial real estate wasn't going to happen. It was going to be extremely tough. I went through the commercial construction route, where I worked for a small electrical contracting company here, moved on to a local small general contractor, eventually to a larger company called Ryan Companies. Worked on the biggest office project in Arizona history. So if anybody knows Arizona, if you go just north of ASU, the Marina Heights State Farm project, it was about a $800 million project. So that was pretty fun. And then from there, I moved finally to my dream of getting into commercial real estate. And I spent a few years being a real estate developer on the West Coast. I worked on only industrial buildings from 20 million to your $200 million Amazon fulfillment centers. And that was a blast. That was a lot of fun.
So you really took to the commercial real estate. So let me ask you, what was your real inspiration to get started in real estate?
Great question. So my dad, back when I was in high school, my dad ran a company, and he took me out one day just to go look at office buildings for his company as they're getting ready to relocate. And I'll never forget this moment, where we were and everything. And we're sitting in the car, and I asked him, so Dad, are you going to buy this building for your company? And he said, no, we just lease it. We pay somebody else to rent. And it dawned on me at that point. I was like, somebody pays somebody else to just stay there? Like, that is what I want to do.
Absolutely.
Just have people pay me money. That is the dream. And that was kind of the aha moment when I realized I wanted to get into real estate.
Okay. So that was your aha moment to say you wanted to get into real estate. Um, Normally with real estate investors and entrepreneurs per se, they always have this dream down inside of them. And as a young kid, it starts to materialize. So tell me, what was your first business transaction as a child?
So I've got two. The
Okay.
first wasn't, I don't know if you can call it a transaction. I just like this story. So I went to my dad's conference room one day on a weekend, and I sat there. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I sat at the head of the desk or head of the table, and I went person by person by person. Now understand, nobody's in this room, so it's literally
Okay.
just me. And I go, "You're fired. You're fired. You're fired." So at that point, I knew I was either destined to be the president or a real estate mogul. But
Okay.
so I've always loved that business idea. I don't know if I've got that same mentality today, but my first transaction financially, my family still gives me a hard time. My grandparents used to come into town, and they would always come from Utah, go to Vegas, gamble, and then come to Arizona. So I always knew Grandma Patty had some nickels and dimes and
Yeah.
quarters.
Yeah.
And I was about 5 years old, and I told her, I'll bring in a bag, $1 per bag. So I got $3. I brought in all 3 bags, and to this day, 25, 30 years later, they still give me a hard time about, driving a hard bargain to that.
Hey, well, that's good. I mean, you were learning your negotiation skills at an early age. So, and I'm
Yeah,
pretty
well,
sure.
no negotiation. I told her it's $1 per bag, no negotiation.
There you go. There you go. So you drive a hard bargain, man.
Gotta
So
start somehow.
yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your first real estate transaction and your first purchase, and we're going to kind of dig into that. So what was that? What
Okay.
did it look like?
So I bought in May of 2010. I bought a single family home, and I did what everybody now knows as a house hack. You move in
Okay.
it, you renovate it. I refied, and I had roommates at the time, so the idea was supplement my own rent.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up buying this house. Out of 10, 1 through 10, it was a 9.8. The only thing I could have done better was it was the all-time low of housing values. 4 to 6 months later was the all-time low of interest rates and housing values. So
Gotcha.
I was so close, but you can never time it like that. And it's still a great, great opportunity. So I ended up buying this place. I was making, I think, $35,000 a year.
So let's start here. How much did you purchase it for?
So I bought it for $123,000.
God, in Tempe, you could never find that now.
No, that's, yeah.
And think about it, that was just 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so $123,000.
Yeah.
How did you structure it? Was it with hard money? Was it with traditional lending?
So it's traditional through Fannie Mae. But
Okay,
back in the day, it was so hard because I was competing. I knew I wanted to renovate a house. So I was competing against all the flippers who were going in there. And the banks back then, they literally just took the first offer. And so you
okay,
had to be fast. You had to go on scene. It was my first property. I was pretty scared, as anybody would be.
yep.
So this one actually went through. An investor got it. I was upset. A week later, it fell through because the roof needed to be replaced. Not now, but like in the next year or two.
Okay.
So I had to do, I think it was called a Fannie Mae Home Path,
Mm-hmm.
where I had a higher rate, but there wasn't any mortgage insurance because of
Yep.
it, with the understanding that I had to burden the liability for the quality of the roof.
Okay. So $123,000. How much did you have to put down? Was it 1%, 2%? I forgot. With
I think
Home
it was,
Path, it's really low.
yeah, I think it was $3,500. So it's probably about 4 or 5%.
Okay. Okay. And you had to pay for the roof. And the key thing that I want our listeners to hear is that you said you did it, you were scared, you didn't know kind of what you were doing, but you still did it anyway, correct?
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
All right. So now you have this property. Were you a college student at the time, or were you done with college?
I was done with college and I was probably 23, 24, around that. So I was
Okay.
2 years out.
Okay. So 23 years old, fresh out of college. You have $123,000 mortgage debt now. You need a roof on the house. Kind of what was going through your mind, man?
I've always wanted to renovate houses, but I didn't know anything about how to renovate. And I've always made like little side projects. So I ended up just, it's kind of before YouTube was really, really big, but I
Okay.
bought this book. Oh, it's not, it's over there. But I got the Home Depot Home Improvement 1, 2, 3 book, and it was my Bible. I would just read it. The next task coming up, I ended up doing probably 60% renovations on my own, hiring
Okay.
out a few tasks, tiling and cabinets, but all the demolition, drywall, painting, I did. Unfortunately, my tools got stolen in the middle of it, so I learned a lesson. Don't keep your
Oh,
tools at the
wow.
house.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of those tough lessons you have to learn.
Yeah, and I didn't have a truck to bring things back and forth, so it was not possible uh, to leave or to take everything home with me every day. So
Okay.
it was an unfortunate lesson learned, but it's okay. Ryobi tools, if anybody knows where they're at, let me know.
So, $123,000. You're renovating this house. How much do you think you put into it?
I think I put in about 15 to 20,000. I think I budgeted 15. I ended up spending 20 because my tools got stolen. My cousin was a handyman, and I ended up hiring him to not only help me, teach me, but also to make sure I got done fast enough. My roommates and I, we had a lease that expired. I had 3 months to get it
To get
all
it
done and
done.
moved out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're about 146, $147,000 into it. What was your mortgage note? Do you remember?
Oh man, I paid like, I gotta be careful so my old roommates don't hear how much money I made on it. Eric, earmuffs. So I think my mortgage was about 925.
Okay. All right, 925. And now this is the secret sauce. How many roommates and how much were they paying you?
So it wasn't as great as it should have been. If I was smarter back in the day, I only had two roommates. Well,
Okay.
three. So my brother and one of my best friends, and then our dog. So she
Okay.
didn't do anything. She didn't pay rent, unfortunately. And each of them paid, I want to say it was 350 or 400. So
Okay.
I could have gone up more. We were all paying about that price before, so we got a nicer house. And my idea was you take care of your friends. I
Yep.
would rather know who these tenants are, and it worked out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you were living in there with them. It was a house hack. So you were
Yep,
only paying about, 125 bucks a month
yeah,
for rent basically on your mortgage,
yeah,
and your brother and your roommate was paying the rest. So kudos to
yep,
you, man. That's smart, especially at 23 years old. You're like, hey, we got to have a place to stay instead of paying this landlord that we're currently paying. Hey guys, let's come together, and essentially you guys pay me and I'll put a roof over your head.
yeah. A new roof.
Right, exactly. A new roof. How about that? So, kind of rolling on, what was the next step after that? After you start seeing, okay, the light bulb went on and hey, I can make some money doing this. What was the next step?
So it took me probably, I want to say 2 to 3 years after I bought the house to get in, and then I had to unwind for a little bit. But I was always trying to learn more about real estate. And the next thing I did was a refi cash out. And
Okay.
so my mortgage was, what did I say, 925, something around there. I ended up within 2, 3 years, I refied. The house was appraised, I think 220, 240. So I
Okay.
ended up getting a new note for about 180 because you could take 75% loan to value
Yep.
minus my previous debt. So I got $75,000 out of that deal, which was enough for me to start looking for two new properties.
Okay. So you basically used the burst strategy back in 2010 when not too many people were doing it. So
Yeah.
you put the money into it, did the renovations, 20 grand renovations, And then 2 years later, you ended up taking $75K out, using that money to go and buy two other properties. All right. Smart, man. So what are you doing? You got this $75,000. How are you finding these next two properties?
So I found my next two properties through MLS, and it was a
Okay.
little bit competitive. So the second one I got, it was a pure rental at that point. I found one, it just happens to be the neighborhood directly south of me, which was convenient.
Okay.
Made an offer on that, fixed it up. This time I got more confidence of my abilities for renovation. So
Mm-hmm.
this time I think everything inside the house was all me. The only thing I outsourced was the lawn care outside and redoing the yard, because I absolutely hate doing yard work.
Yeah, especially in Phoenix when it's 120
Oh,
degrees.
yeah.
You know, that's not rocket science, Kenny. We know.
No. Well, and I keep making the same mistake. Every time I buy a house, it's always in June or June through August. And in Arizona, it's just with no AC, it is brutal to
Yep.
start renovation.
Yep. That time is ridiculous. So you got this new house, you did everything to it, and now were you going to house hack that one, or were you just using that strictly for rental?
That one was a strict rental.
Okay.
It was a smaller house where I lived. I was already making, my girlfriend, I think, moved in with me at this point, and we still had another roommate. So I had a decent scenario going on there. That house took me, I think, 3 months to renovate it.
Okay.
So I'd work during the day, and then I would get home. I would get home about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, go to the house and work till about 2 a.m. And then I ate a lot of Wendy's because it was the only thing open at 2:30 at night.
Yep. Okay. How much did you pay for that one? Because you said you found it on an MLS. What was your acquisition price on that one?
That was, I want to say it was 175, 172,
Okay.
somewhere right around there.
Okay. That's about right. And we're looking at 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I think it was
175.
2013.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So 175, and how much did you put into that one?
So that one I actually used a hard money loan at
Okay.
first. So I put down 25%, and then we were able to, actually I put 25% when we got refied out. I actually had 100% loan to value, which was nice.
Yeah.
On the hard money loan.
So before we get into those numbers, now this is only your first house. How did you find out about hard money loans? You know, we can't gloss over that, because I know a lot of people always say, hey, there's no money. I don't have the money to do it. You know, yes, you did this cash out refi, but you're like, okay, instead of going the traditional route, let me go hard money. So how did you find your hard money lender? What made you even think of that concept?
Yeah. So I'll say that the 2 years between these deals, I was really just analyzing property. At this point, I had more of a investor's mindset. I would practice analyzing deals. I was reading Bigger Pockets all the time, reading books. This was my MBA real estate 2-year program that I just started to crunch knowledge.
Gotcha.
And to find my hard money lender was pretty easy. I just speed dialed dad.
Okay.
Called him right up. And my dad is, and I'm very fortunate. So my dad is, he's always taught me just get comfortable making offers.
Yep.
You know, like if you've got an idea, throw it out there and see what
happens. Yep.
Yeah. And so I used to have to write contracts, and like if I wanted an allowance increase, I would literally have to write a contract out and give it to my dad about what I have to do more. So he's always been training me to do this.
That's excellent education, man. Excellent.
Yeah. And it's and I'm very lucky to have that relationship, and a lot of people aren't. So I definitely acknowledge that. But this was his first hard money loan as well. And since then, today, he's actually a hard money lender out in San Diego. So he saw the benefits of it. I made sure to sit down and really explain, here's what I buy it at, here's what I fix it up, the ARV after repair value, how he makes his money and when he gets out. And we always make sure it's a good deal, you know. But if I always had the choice, I'd I'd rather give my friends or family my money rather
Yeah.
than a traditional stranger.
Gotcha. So your dad was the hard money lender. Now was he very, very strict? What was the terms of his agreement? How you said you had to put 25% down, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, dad wanted his money.
Yeah. That doesn't
So,
mess around.
okay, 25% down on 175. How much did you put into it?
Yeah. So real quick, I'm the second son, so I have to work harder for his love. The first
God,
son, he gets he gets his love right away. So
I know it, Kenny. I'm the second son too, man, and I wear that. I try and wear it as a badge of honor, but it's hard being the second son.
yeah,
So
yeah. All right, so we got something common there.
definitely.
But but uh, with him, the idea was just as long as I can communicate it to him, he definitely he always pokes holes in my philosophy to make sure I know what I'm doing. He's obviously not going to just give me money and let me fail.
Yep.
He's going to treat me like he would any other investor, any other business person, which is good. So I kind of got sometimes it's a little frustrating,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, well, just let me fail. Like if you don't have to quiz me or test me all the way to the end. But I'm very grateful for that tough love on it. So before he ever made a deal, I mean, he had to be sold on it. Every single time he has to be sold on it that it's an actually good plan. It
Good.
has to have a nice return, has to have a good exit on it.
That's perfect, man. That's the real MBA education right there. It's
Yeah.
because your father was vetting all of your deals, and like you said, poking holes through it to make sure, hey, what happens if you can't exit this way? What's the alternative? What
Yep.
happens if, your rehab budget is double what you anticipated? So that's excellent. I mean, and that's your mentor right there, your father and your mentor. He has a background in being a business person, so that's great to have. You definitely fortunate for that. So you're into this project. You're Again, how much did you put into it as far as the rehab?
So I think I was in probably 30 to 50. I'm trying to remember the exact number, probably closer to 40 to
Okay.
50,000. By the time I had carry costs and all the material, the one nice thing that I had back in the day, so I would do all the
Okay.
self-performed labor, which that's 60% of your cost typically, especially today.
Mm-hmm.
But this is when I was working on the Marina Heights project, which I had a $5 million millwork contract, which is just a astronomical millwork contract. So I got free countertops. I just
Right.
call a guy and
Okay.
say, hey, I need some material. My flooring guy, a couple $1 million project. I'm like, I need flooring. And so I was able to utilize my relationships at that time, leverage it to, I hate to sound selfish, but leverage it to my benefit over here. Um, and that helped me save some money as well.
Yeah, and that's not being selfish. That's using wisdom. If you have those relationships, a fool wouldn't use those relationships. I'm pretty sure a lot of contractors wish that they can just call up somebody and say, hey, you know what, I need, 14 linear feet of granite. you know
Yeah.
who wouldn't want that? So that's great. And you were still doing the work yourself, so you was putting in that sweat equity, so it wasn't like it was free. And so that's great. You have to leverage those relationships and build that rapport with those people so you can leverage those relationships. And it's not greedy, because on the back end, I'm pretty sure if those people asked you for something, that you would reciprocate that generosity back to them.
Hmm.
Okay.
And
So
it's a little bit different when they're a company too,
mhm.
because they work for a bigger company who's getting tons and tons of business. And so
Right.
it made me feel a little bit more comfortable.
Okay. All right. So you're about 215K into this project. Um, it was going to be a rental. What were you going to
Yep.
rent it at? What were you going to rent it at? How did you find your tenants? Because now it can't be your brother and your college roommate. You have to really get out here and find some tenants. So let's go through that. How did you get
Yeah.
these tenants and find them and everything?
So I put it on Zillow, and
Okay.
I ended up hosting it, doing an open house. Just set up cookies, get some nice soft jazz music in the background. Just really set the
Mm-hmm.
tone for it. And I would call this a kind of a C, right in the middle C, maybe C pluses. It's just kind of an older but more common rental area,
Mm-hmm.
far enough away from the college. And we had the open house. People came through. Doing an open house always saves you time as well, rather than having to do multiple lists or multiple
Showings.
viewings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd rather just sit there all day and just kind of wait. I ended up, I think right away we had probably 6 or 8 applicants that were
Okay.
all interested. Some of them, tried bargaining right away. Can you knock off a couple $100 of rent? Sorry,
Yeah.
can't do that. See ya.
Typical.
Yeah, yep. And it came down to a couple, Chris and Kelly, and
Okay.
actually I've broken every landlord rule there is, because I introduced Kelly to my girlfriend Shannon, and they're best friends now. Like
All right.
we flew out to their wedding in Houston, and I met Chris in person. He grew up here, but they were moving out of town from LA. So I took a little bit of a leap of faith here, um, and went off of character of people as well. And Chris is one of the nicest people in the world. And
Okay.
Kelly's a sweetheart too. But when I first met Chris, you just got real calm, cool
Mm-hmm.
energy from him, and it's been great. I mean, we
Okay.
call it El Rento. It was on El Camino, so we call it El Rento. They call it that as well,
Okay.
and it was all about just treating them right as well. And they turned out to be fantastic tenants.
And that's you hit something real key. You said you just have to treat your tenants right, and I know some people, and I have actually invested in some properties, like you were saying, I've even done like C minus D plus areas. And because you treat the tenants right, they have a higher level of standard for your property because of that relationship that you have with them and they have with you. So Chris and Kelly, you found them, you broke every tenant landlord philosophy there is out there. um how did how were they paying rent? Were they paying rent directly to you? Were you using an online service? How was that going? Because this is your first rental with people that you don't know or didn't have a prior relationship with.
Yeah, and that's scary, right? I mean, it's scary enough getting your first deal, and then it's scary to go through the first tenant experience. I would say we ended up using, I think, Chase Bank, Zelle,
Okay.
and that worked fine. It just
Okay.
set it up on auto pay, and we got the check every month. And then the harder thing was and they always paid on time, luckily, and so we
Okay.
never had any awkward friend items going on.
Gotcha. And that was going to be my next question. How did you navigate, if they didn't pay the rent? Well, luckily they paid. And so you were self-managing it, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Um, they were paying through Zelle online. How did they communicate with you, any repairs or anything like that? Did they just say, text Kenny?
So yeah, usually it'd be over some beers, I guess, if we're hanging out.
Okay.
Well, so uh, when you renovate a place, you're going to have a lot of repairs, because I could do a punch list of a completed project, but it's not a living punch list. Like, it's not a
Hmm.
living condition punch list. So all my renovations, I probably have more repairs in the first 2 months than the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's all about just communicating with them. And this is before we were friends, but just saying, hey guys, if there's any problems, please give me a call. I'll do my best to come over right away. You have to address it, and make sure that they trust you as well.
Okay.
There was one time I had the water heater broke over there. So I learned my lesson on that one, because the inspection report said you've got 9 more months of this water heater. And I
Yeah.
had it, yeah, I had it earmarked. I was like, month 8, I'm gonna go in and replace it.
Uh-huh.
And at month 7.5, it burst.
It went
And
out.
so it leaks, yeah, it leaks everywhere. It was in the garage, but it leaked inside the kitchen as well. And this is just where communicating with people is key. I actually deal with Chris to do the floor repairs because it was laminate floating
Okay.
floors. And part of it was because that was the worst thing I've ever done. Doing those floors were the worst thing I've ever done, and I didn't want to do them. And so I
Okay.
figured if I could pay my own tenant to repair it, um, it would be a win-win situation. And we still joke around to this day because he says I bamboozled him into it. How do you know how difficult it was going to be? So, but it was so I did all the maintenance stuff. One of my little tricks is you always give a welcome bag to people, and
Excellent.
occasionally
Smart.
I'll
Smart.
just yeah, and then part of it is you give them cleaning materials, and then on occasion I haven't done this for a while, probably should, but I'll just go give them a $25 gift card to Lowe's or Home Depot,
Mm-hmm.
and then if they're shopping, and they need new light bulbs or they want paint touch up, a little $25, $50 gift card, people will utilize that. And even if they don't fix your house, they appreciate it as a token of gratitude.
Absolutely.
Um, or they fix it, and all of a sudden, if they spend half of it to make the house nicer or take care of it themselves, it saves me time and it helps my asset appreciate.
Yeah, yeah. And those small little I wrote an article on Bigger Pockets. This was some years ago about some small little tips that I do to make tenants feel more comfortable and to make them feel, just build that rapport with them. And that's I didn't do the gift bags, but what I would have a list of all of the services that they would need, So if it was Cox, here's the telephone number to Cox, here's the telephone number, to the electric company, so on and so forth. And if you need this, hey, here's all of the delivery places that deliver to this home. And I would do that. And then normally after a year, if they've been there for a while, after year, 3 or 4, I would come in and I would do something so simple, but people always thought it was a lot. I would change like the majority of the light switch covers. Light switch cover is $1. You may have 20, 30 of them in your house. So I'll go around and I would just change out some of the light fixture covers. So it's like you said, it's those small little things to make people feel a lot more comfortable. So when they do have a repair that needs to be done, they know, okay, let me go in and make sure this repair is done, because the worst thing that can happen is to have a tenant that's paying their rent, but they're not informing you about, hey, it's a leak under the sink or the toilet is running excessively. So man, kudos to you. That's a smart thing. I may have to incorporate that, having that gift bag ready.
Yeah, yeah, especially when they're moving out. To give them the proper cleaning supplies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if it's used or shared, you take it from one
Right.
house, take it to the next. Because my philosophy is you always have to help people, and if I tell them if you can clean it up when you move out and it's as ready, ready to move in condition, I don't need to hire a cleaning crew, but here's the cleaning materials to make sure you do it properly.
Yep. Okay, so we talked about hard money. We talked about 2 of your rentals. What do you think, which property or which transaction had the biggest impact, on your career as a real estate investor?
So I'd have to say my first one,
Okay.
and for obvious reasons, just it's your first one. But more importantly, I bought it at the right time, and it's actually been pretty good cash flow as well. And that's just opened the door for so many new opportunities for me. And because it was successful, it gave me the courage and the confidence to want to continue to do this as well.
Okay. All right. So your first deal was your biggest success. Now tell me, man, it sounds like everything has been, roses, peaches, and cream. Tell me, give me something that made you really question, your position as a real estate investor. Tell me that hard deal or that hard transaction or, that hard situation with your tenants.
With my tenants, I had one that wasn't necessarily was associated to the real estate company, the technology side, but I'm pretty lucky. Most of it's gone pretty well. My turnovers go pretty smoothly. I will say one's really short. The first one is I learned a lesson that college kids like to make bets that they can punch through both sides of a drywall. So that
Oh,
was
really?
like that was the biggest repair I've ever had to do. But I actually had another property. This is probably the most frustrating thing I've had to do in real estate in Arizona. Of course, they move out in August. I
Hmm.
was out of town, I think, for a week or two. They move out, and they say they left it in clean condition, which was completely false. They were younger, just postgraduate guys,
Okay.
and I was out of town. They turned the power off, so I hurry up. I cleaned it. I get it ready to show, and it's not renting. And I ended up taking about 2 months for this place to lease up. I don't have a sense of smell,
Uh-huh.
which is important to know because this lady one day opens up the refrigerator and the freezer, shuts it, and I could smell whatever came out of this thing. It was horrendous. So it turns out the guys, and I missed this on my checklist as well, but they turned the power off and they left all the food in there. But they
Oh
left
my
10
God.
pounds. Yeah, they left 10 pounds of frozen ground beef in the freezer, and it thawed all the way down outside the refrigerator. And as soon as you opened it, it was probably the most foul smell I've ever smelled, which is far and few between.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And then I learned my lesson here. I always try to be nice to my tenants. You treat me
Hmm.
right, I treat you right. I don't mind doing maintenance work. I don't mind doing a little bit of, drywall if it's like fixing a couple of holes or like a little pinholes or screw
Uh-huh.
holes, as long as it's nothing major. So I was cleaning this house, getting it all ready. I cleaned that refrigerator for probably 12 hours over 3 days. I had gas mask on, I had bleach, and we still couldn't get the smell out. And I told the tenants that, I'm taking it out of their deductible, my time for all this. And they argued. The guy was a law student and tried throwing some, uh,
Some legal
we,
jargon.
yeah, yeah, quote unquote, we left in good faith as is condition. I'm like, no, not even
Uh-huh.
close. But so I learned my lesson. I just said, all right, I'm done doing this. I was trying to save you guys money because I've been 24, 25 years old myself, and I know how much getting $500 back means. And I just said, all right, you know what? You left it in a terrible condition. I've now lost a month of lease. I'm just gonna take it. I'm just gonna go buy a brand new refrigerator, have all handyman come in here, and I mean, I went over the security deposit, but they got nothing
Yeah,
back. They kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And now, unfortunately, my rule is if it's not ready, I'm not going to do it anymore. I need to just hire somebody to come in,
absolutely.
handle it. I still don't mind if they're great tenants to give them the benefit of the doubt, give them the opportunity to even fix it themselves. If it's little small things like an hour or two, but if it's going to
Hmm.
take more than that, that's
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately
because
that.
you don't want to spend your time, doing a job that someone that can do it, that's being paid 8.50, 9, $10 an hour,
Yeah.
to do it. So kind of wrapping up here, I know you have, as a landlord, you have some systems that you have in place. Tell me about what you have that's called the Burbz. I know you have a proprietary software for real estate investors and landlords that they can use. Kind of introduce that to the community. Let us know, what is it, man, and how can we find it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share it. So Burbz, it is free software for landlords, and we provide tools for rent collection, tenant screening, and maintenance ticketing.
Okay.
And really, we're driven by two simple values. Our goal is to reduce management fees in the long term by 20 to 35%, so more people will hire property management or do a better job. And then the other goal is to improve the quality of management. We look at Burbs as a community, as part of the name Burbs,
Okay.
suburbs being
Mm-hmm.
community. And in the long run, the goal is to really help everybody save money, live better. The tenants, we want to give them a good experience because we all know that renting's not always the best. And we're hopefully coming up soon, we're going to be able to allow you to report your rent to the credit bureau. So
Okay.
now we're helping tenants start to build up their own credits, which helps them buy more houses or is just generally good for them as well. And so we're helping landlords, anybody who's got rental properties, anywhere from a single family home to a quadplex up and above. And we're always adding more key features. We're really excited about our co-managing opportunities as well.
Okay.
And yeah, so you can
So
check us out.
yeah, so that's Burbz, B-U-R-Z. No, B-U-R-B-Z, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, B-U-R-B-Z. Um, that's Burbz. Now, how are you, this software, you said it's free to landlords. You know, how is that, how? Is
Yeah.
my question.
Good question. Yeah. So we look at this and we say, what are the basic elements that you need to be a property manager or a landlord self-managing? Let's give those elements away for free. There are minor side benefits that we do charge on.
Okay,
So for example, so rent collection is free. What happens is if your tenants pay by direct deposit, they do the ACH,
mm-hmm.
bank to bank, that's free. If they decide to pay by credit card, there's a transaction fee, but it's paid by the tenant.
Okay,
Screening reports as well. Screening reports are paid by the tenant. So the nice thing is you don't have to collect their money on it. The tenants or the applicants, they know that you're spending the money on what you said it was. Screening
okay,
reports. Yep. And then we offer oh man, John, we rental estimates,
okay,
legal documents. Those are all things that they're above and beyond. And
okay.
everything that we call a la carte property management. You can
Gotcha.
pick and choose what you want, when you want to use it, and who you want to work with.
Now, is this just for Arizona? Is this nationwide? Or are you planning on going nationwide with it?
That's a beautiful thing about real estate. We want to go nationwide with this. We are focused in Arizona, Southern California right now, but software is really easy to apply everywhere. And landlords can be from anywhere and own anywhere. So, I mean, for example, I know you've got property out of state.
Absolutely. Okay. So I'll make sure I, put the information down in the show notes about the
Okay.
Burbz, Burbz. That way the listeners can go and take a look at it, check it out and see if it's something that they would be interested in. I know there's quite a few different rent collection companies and things like that when it comes to landlords. But, if the proprietary software is being used here in Arizona and SoCal, I think the people should definitely take a look at it and see if it's something that will fit their needs, man. So that's really, really great. So tell me, what's next? Are you looking to buy more rentals, or you're focusing on your entrepreneurial endeavor with Burbz? Kind of where you going, Kenny?
So I'm doing both right now. I've actually used my passive income to help me. We're bootstrapping Burbz, which is tough to do. A lot of startups
Yep.
look for money. That's not really the way we work. So we're going to continue working on Burbz, trying to grow this out. But at the end of the day, I still love real estate. It's been hard for me to sit on the sideline. We look at this as an opportunity, really in the long picture. I think if we can take care of more people, my network will expand and I can benefit in the long term. We really want to work on the customer solutions. So
Okay.
you mentioned we do have a lot of competition. One of the things I love to share about us is, all of our users can call me up anytime. I talked to Darlington. He sends me deals. He's an LA user. I went out to LA and had dinner to meet him, and he still sends me deals. We converse. I teach him about different opportunities, different options, and everything he can do. So I'm still
Okay.
heavily involved in at least that conversation. But then my girlfriend and I actually decided recently to start the Airbnb arbitrage style, where you rent a house out with the understanding that we're going to Airbnb it and then make money. Essentially,
Okay.
you manage it at that
Yep.
point. So I'm a deal person, and I'm a creative person, and I love numbers, but she's a host. She
Okay.
loves taking care of people. So for us, it makes sense to team up and do something we can be great at. So we started
Perfect.
that recently, just driving around. I'm having to teach my girlfriend all about real estate.
What to look
You know,
for, huh?
why property managers don't answer the phone on Sundays.
Okay. Hey, and that's good, man, especially when you have, a partner that's willing to dive into real estate with you. Not everybody is fortunate to have that. Some husbands or wives, their significant other is like, okay, well, you do that while I do this. But whenever you can marry it and tie it together, and work as a team, it's definitely a benefit, man. So we're going to jump right in, Kenny, and this next round is going to be our hot seat question. So Kenny, we're going to put you on the hot seat, the hot seat, the hot seat. So these next few questions, man, try and answer them as quick as you can. So starting over, what would you do different?
I would probably be more comfortable knowing who I am and accepting it.
Okay, great. What is your greatest commodity outside of capital?
My greatest commodity outside of capital would be my curiosity.
Okay. What is one thing you could do to be more productive?
Oh, man. I try really hard to be productive. I need to get better at this thing. I use this little timer.
Okay.
and it just, if I get on Facebook, I set it to 5 minutes, but I only remember about 50, 60% of the time. So if I can set that timer more often, I will be more productive.
Okay. I use something that's called Pomodoros. Again, it's with the timer. You block out your hours of the day, and then once you get 1 hour completed, you can set that timer and reward yourself with 5 minutes of Facebook and Instagram time. So that's something you can look up, Pomodoros. What drives your ambition?
I want to be successful, and I want to be viewed as being successful.
Okay.
Shallow, but
Gotcha. And what do you believe is your greatest challenge, internal or external?
For me, it's internal. It's just having that confidence to know you can go out and fail and then recover and do it again.
Okay. And what is the latest business book you've read?
I just finished this one today, the Zappos Delivering Happiness, and it's a really good book. Really good book.
Okay. Zappos Delivering Happiness. Okay. And then what's the latest real estate book you've read?
So I haven't read real estate books in a while, to be completely honest.
Okay.
I did read one. It was like Repositioning Multifamily, and I read it about 4 or 5 years ago. And I gave the book to somebody. I don't remember who, unfortunately, but that was probably one of the last ones, but also one of the best ones I've read.
All right. So Kenny, before we wrap up, man, is there one last thing you want to let our listeners know?
Yeah, if you guys want to check us out, our website's theburbz.com, TheBurbz.com. We spell it with a Z to be trendy. And you can check us out, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We're always posting new content. We would love for people to come talk to us, tell us what your problems are. We're all about creating solutions for your problems as well as talking about real estate strategy.
Okay. So that's great, guys. I'll make sure I have all of that information, all of the social media links in the show notes. That way you can get with Kenny and maybe Kenny can solve some problems for you. So guys, I want to thank you. Thank you, Kenny, again for being here and sharing with the We Love Equity Real Estate Show family. And we are going to sign off. So thank you again, Kenny.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to today's show. I picked up some great actionable items, and I'm sure you did as well. If so, let me know. You can always reach me via social media at facebook.com/MRCSMaloney, Twitter at MRCSMaloney, and of course, IG at MRCSMaloney. You can also always reach me via email at mmaloney@equityri.com. Make sure you reach out to our guests as well. You can always find their contact information in the show notes below. If you have not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Join the family. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star review. This is how we tell if we're providing you with what you need for your journey. If there's someone you would like for me to interview, or if there's a subject matter you would like for me to cover, please let me know. Finally, if you're looking for additional information about real estate investing, go to equityrealestateblog.com. Also, youtube.com/Marcus Maloney. Until next time, family, always enjoy the journey.